holiday. There's a few things I want to touch on, and I guess the theme of what I'm saying is the fight isn't over. It's come such a long way in 151 years as a country, and yet there's still some fights to be had when it comes to equality and access to the ballot box and a variety of other things. And I don't want to spend too much time on the policy side of things, but I think it's important to know that some of these things are happening right now in Congress as we speak. 3 years ago, the Supreme Court took action on a court case called Shelby County, Alabama v. Holder. It's a long name for something that was detrimental to the Voting Rights Act. The Voting Rights Act last year was 50 years old, and so was I, by the way. I didn't think in 50 years on that we'd be having to fight for the Voting Rights Act all over again. But this year, this presidential election year, is the first time in my lifetime that we'll be voting without protections of the Voting Rights Act in this country. That's a problem. What the Supreme Court did was throw out a provision of the Voting Rights Act that let the Department of Justice take to court counties and cities that had a history of discrimination in voting. And the Supreme Court threw that section out, put it back on Congress to change it, to improve it, but left it wide open what can happen what can happen now. And the day after the Supreme Court threw out that section of the Voting Rights Act, Texas passed its voter ID law.
Ooh.
And we know these voter ID laws are really voter suppression laws. Voter ID laws fall disproportionately on the younger voter, on older voters, and on voters who are people of color. These are voter suppression laws, and we need to fight to restore the strength of the Voting Rights Act. So the Voting Rights Advancement Act of 2015 is a bill that we need to fight for in Congress for all people, because the right of the ballot box, the right to vote, should not be abridged in this country.
That's right.
There's still a fight to be had when it comes to voting rights.
Woo! That's right.
Two quick other issues. Not only should people have equal access to justice in this country, but the laws should be applied equally, and the penalties in the law should be applied equally. And that's why sentencing reform is so important as well.
Sure.
We know that for some laws, especially laws related to drugs and drug possession in this country, that the impact of those sentences fall disproportionately as well on people of color. We need to fix that in this country. Sentencing reform is critical. There's an opportunity this year in criminal justice and sentencing reform to get something done, but we continue to need the support of everybody in our community to tell Congress to get something done.
That's right.
And now finally, I was just enlightened by Sylvia on an important issue of racial justice, and that's equal access for all people to the kinds of tax incentives and the kind of support that they can get to ensure that the benefits of renewable energy are spread throughout our entire community.
That's right.
And in a state like this, with the beautiful sunshine and the solar energy, well, we actually do pretty good for solar energy in Washington State, despite today.
That's right.
But a state that's the center of excellence in renewable energy, to not have that benefit spread throughout the entire community, throughout all of our communities, to everybody, seems to me that's wrong as well. So we're going to follow up with NAACP and talk to them about what we can do in Congress and what I can do here locally. So it's a great pleasure to be here today. I want to just point out that a guy named, I mentioned Mark Veazey, representative from Texas. He's the lead plaintiff on a case in Texas to overturn the Texas voter ID law. He started, for the first time ever, a couple weeks ago, he started the Congressional Voting Rights Caucus in Congress to bring some attention to this issue with the Voting Rights Act. He asked me to be its vice chair. I'm very pleased, very happy to stand with Mark and many of my colleagues in Congress to try to get this Voting Rights Act fixed, and fix what the Supreme Court foisted upon us. So again, I hope we stay strong on that, and happy Juneteeth Day. Glad to be here. Thank you.